Hey gang, thanks for joining me for kind of a bit of an informal unboxing of a machine that I recently picked up. I typically kind of get out and search the local Facebook groups and Craigslist and things like that, just trying to find machines that I might be looking for, kind of like most people do. But, you know, this one kind of popped up recently and I just had to get it. There wasn't a ton of photos or anything to kind of lay out exactly what all was going on with it, but the front label said everything I needed to know. It is a Performa 640CD, but it's also the DOS compatible model. A little bit of dust, but that's going to be par for the course. A little bit of damage too, but I was really excited to pick it up. So I figure even if it is missing a button, it's probably worth, you know, pulling it apart, playing with the card. I kind of have a real affinity for those Apple DOS compatibility cards, so I figured that I would go ahead and pick this one up. The thing I was pointing at right there, that is, it's actually a DB15 port. Kind of looks like a Mac monitor connection, but it's actually the joystick port for the PC card, and that's kind of what, other than the labeling on the front, let me know that that card still might be in the machine. And there you have it. The complete DOS compatibility card for these machines. I don't know that these are more plentiful than the original Houdini cards that came out for the Quadra 610, and then the Houdini 2 that came out later for the Power Macintosh 6100, but they are nice little cards. It's basically kind of a Houdini in a different package. Go ahead and get that battery out of there. The original Houdini 1, Houdini 2 plug into the PDS slot of those machines, the processor direct slot. Since these machines don't actually have a PDS slot, what it does is you actually pull out the Motorola 68040, you plug the card in, and then you put your CPU back on top of this daughter card with the 46DX266. Typically that's an Intel chip. Sometimes it's also a Cyrix chip, just to maybe save a little bit of money. But they're functionally the same, and in benchmarks, they're pretty much the same thing. Let's go ahead, let's pull the machine apart, go ahead and do a little bit of cleaning, because, gosh, these things do get dirty. And as you can see, that plastic is pretty fragile. I will probably just end up superb gluing those back together at some point. Yeah, thankfully it was a pretty clean break, so that should glue up pretty nicely. Alright, let's go ahead, let's get the top off. The top plastics are just held in place with a few tabs. Got to be careful when you slide that off you don't break anything. 2 screws in the back secure the top sheet metal. This serves as basically some support for if you put a monitor on top of the machine, and also as the EM shield for the computer. There is a metal sort of kickstand that sits under the front of that shield. You have to just kind of squeeze it so that way that it'll fall down, and then you can unplug the floppy cable from the drive and get it apart. 1 screw secures the holder for the IDE hard drive. Set that aside. And then we can pull out the floppy carrier. And let's go ahead and let's pull the CD-ROM out too. Just for troubleshooting purposes, we really don't need that in there. Let's go ahead and let's give this just a quick clean. Use our non-static brush. Go ahead and knock some of the big stuff out of the power supply and out of the fan, since those are areas where a lot of dust contamination likes to build up. Go ahead and clean off the video board. And let's go ahead and let's give the motherboard a little bit of a quick dust off as well. front and back. All right, let's go ahead. Let's slide it back in. Verify that nothing is in the way. Get the power plug back in. Grab a keyboard, mouse. Go ahead and plug that all in. And let's go ahead and get the video hooked up as well. And let's power it on. And we seem to be booting okay. The original drive that was in it definitely had some problems. So what I ended up having to do is swap in a blue SCSI. But we're booted, and I'm able to use my drive images. Since they are just out of the box compatible with this other card as well, you can download those over on the Macintosh Garden. But it's basically pre-rolled Windows 95, Windows 98, and Windows 3.1 with DOS. Let's go ahead and let's do what's important in DOS, right? Let's play some games. So joystick not found, but that makes sense because I don't have joystick plugged in. And these cards have a Vibra 16 audio chipset, so you will get audio in games, both sort of like at a Sound Blaster 16 sort of compatibility level. So all of your old Sound Blaster Pro and AdLib titles are going to work just fine. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is if you're a big fan of MIDI, is that the game port on these cards doesn't actually have the MIDI signals wired in, which is kind of a bummer. So you won't be able to use something like an MT32 unless you want to modify your the sound daughter board on your DOS compatibility card. But even the Sound Blaster audio on this stuff sounds great. I don't know why that would not be good enough for most DOS gamers. But if you want to do those other things, again, it's totally possible. You just have to do a little bit of a modification. I do love Monkey Island. It's probably one of my very favorite games of all time. That intro music, which we're not really listening to here, but that intro music is just so iconic to me. And these games are kind of a good test just to see if digital audio is working as well. So, since that's all working, why don't we run Windows? Since this is a 486, probably Windows 3.1 might be, for your own sanity, about as high as you want to go. But my pre-built images actually have all of the drivers and everything installed as part of the Apple stuff. So you're going to get, like, 256 colors, and sound will work and things like that if that's your jam. Do a quick little drawing here in Paintbrush. Who doesn't love Paintbrush? I'm not much of an artist. But that's really it for the moment. Thanks everybody for joining me, and like I always say, Apple II forever.